There's basically an unlimited amount of things that can make you fail on Amazon, and trust me, I've been through my fair share. But there is one thing in particular that I've seen hold people back over and over again. It's something that hurts the most because it's something that hits when you get so damn close that you can practically taste the success. The worst part is it's not even your fault. It's something that everyone has said. YouTubers, courses, literally anyone has told you to fall for it. I've said this in the past, and I'm gonna say it again here. The worst thing you can do in 2022 and 2023 for your Amazon business is to not order enough inventory and go out of stock. Even if you're doing really, really well when you go out of stock, when your inventory comes back in, it's probably 90% chance you will not re-rank those levels. And depending on how long you've been out of stock, it could be a death sentence. So in this video, I'm gonna go over exactly how to inventory forecast to make sure you don't make this mistake, how many units to order for your first order, and if at the very worst case scenario, you actually do go out of stock, how to make sure, okay, the processes to make sure that when you do get back in stock, you're able to re-rank successfully. Now, before we go into that, right, I wanna explain from my understanding why this happens. And it's not because Amazon hates you or wants you to fail, but it's because of a flawed algorithm and a flawed system. So the way that this flawed system works is from my understanding, they go on different rolling averages of sales, so they'll have a 30-day rolling average of sales, a 60-day, a 90-day, and basically the way that this, works is if you make, 300 sales in 30 days, that's 10 sales per day, so they understand, okay, 10 sales per day, 30 days, 300 sales. But then you go out of stock for 30 days. Now they look at your whole period, they see 60 days. In 60 days, you still made 300 sales because you've been out of stock for 30 days. So now instead of making 10 sales per day, where they would rank you at 10 sales per day, they see, okay, you're only making 5 sales per day, averaged out, so therefore you should be ranked where 5 sale per day products are ranked. And obviously you can see how that can be a problem if you've only been in stock for 30 days and then you go out of stock for 60 days, and you can see how that can drastically affect where you're gonna rank when you come back into stock. And the reason this doesn't happen when you first come in is because Amazon needs to give you the benefit of the doubt, right? Whether it's called the honeymoon period or whatever you wanna call it, there is some sort of benefit of the doubt that Amazon gives you, that you have a certain amount of time to show them that your product actually is good. And I was gonna first do this on my iPad, but I didn't charge it, so it's completely dead. So we're gonna be doing it on my whiteboard here. So let's change it to that. And so basically when you start off, you'll usually start off obviously here, and let's say that's your starting point, and you'll start off pretty slow, and then exponentially your sales will increase from there. As you start to make more sales, Amazon will start to rank you higher, and it's kind of a snowball like that. So let's say you're making sales, and then all of a sudden you have no sales. You literally tank to 0 sales. So let's say this is the sales. You tank to 0 and you stay there for an extended period of time, assuming you, like I said, let's say this is the first 30 days, then this is 60 days of out of stock because you didn't plan enough, you didn't buy enough inventory, and you come back in stock, but the period is over, the honeymoon period is over, that initial benefit of the doubt period is over, and all the rolling averages are fine. That's also the same reason why if me with my product that's been selling for almost 2 years goes out of stock for, let's say, 3 weeks, a month and a half, it won't affect me as much, because if I look at my rolling averages over 30, 60, 90, 180, 365, whatever those actual dates are, you can see that it's much harder to affect a rolling average when you actually have a lot more sales history. And that's why when you have a big product with a lot of reviews, it seems to go out of stock for maybe a couple weeks, but then when it comes back in stock, it's right at the top of the first page. I obviously think there's a lot of problems with that system, but it's the one that they're using, and it's also the reason why if you go out of stock, you're gonna have a lot of problems. Now, a lot of people tell you to buy a small amount of inventory first, then reorder a lot more inventory on your second order, so you can fulfill that demand once you've proven there is a demand for your product. And while that does make logical sense, I do understand that, and I can see why you'd want to do that. The problem with that is if you do that and you do have a successful product and it does go out of stock, you will actually in the long run be left with a lot more inventory. So now that we understand that, let's talk about how many units you should order for your first inventory. Because a lot of people, if you think about it logically, right, you don't want to order too many units and the first time, and then when you prove the demand, order more units and have a lot more inventory come in to fulfill the demand. The problem with that thinking though, while it makes kind of logical sense right now, and it's what everybody tells you to do, if you play out the 2 scenarios that I'm going to show you now, you'll see that you'll probably be stuck with a lot more inventory if you do that scenario, if things don't go right for you and you're not able to re-rank. So let's say we have scenario 1 and scenario 2. Scenario 1, it's the same product, you order 250 units. Scenario 2, you order 500 units. Let's say you're selling 10 per day on each. 10 per day. Scenario 1, it will last you 25 days. Scenario 2, it will last you 50 days. Assuming your restock is 60 days, for example, and assuming you reordered on the first day that you started making sales, you'll have in scenario 1, 35 days out of stock. In scenario 2, you have 10 days out of stock. So 35 and 10. Now, when you come back into stock, it's very, very likely that for quite a long time, you won't be making 10 sales per day because you've been out of stock for 35 days. So let's say you make 3 sales per day here, and let's say here you make 7 sales per day because you've only been out of stock for 10 days. We can debate about how much you're gonna make, how many sales you're gonna make in each situation, but my point is gonna be the same. If you go out of stock for less days, you will make more sales when you come back because you'll be able to re-rank easier. In scenario 1, you're much more likely to reorder many more units than your first initial order. So, a lot of the times I've seen people order like 1,000 units after something like this because they realize that if they're selling 10 per day, 1,000 units will only last them, let's say 100 days, and that works out well. Whereas in scenario 2, you could also go for 1,000 units, if that's the case, but you have a much more realistic understanding of when you get back in stock. Even if you do make 10 per day, you got a lot more time to think about and see the trends of your sales. So, you could do 750, you could do 1,000. Let's just assume you do 1,000 in this situation as well. All right. Now, in this case, because again, we can debate, okay, it's not 3, it's 4 or 5, whatever. The point is it will be less when you get back in stock with this versus this. So this will actually be much more likely to sell out. So let's say 7 sales at 1,000, total 1,000 units. This will last you about 140 days. 140 days. Whereas 1,000 units at, let's say 3 or let's say 5, which I think is very generous after going out of stock for more days than you've been in sale, you'll start to see that this is actually going to last you 200 days, okay? And you'll be stuck with 1,000 units for that much longer, whereas you'll be able to turn over much more units here. And this is, you can debate this if you want, but this is the truth. This is what I've seen from myself, from my students, and this is just fact. And if you disagree with it, you can leave me a comment below, but this is what I've seen happen over and over again. So by actually ordering less inventory up front, you think you're being, let's say smarter with your inventory. You think you're, risking less. The truth is you're actually just hindering yourself in the long run and actually losing a lot more money over the course of, time. And this was at 5 sales per day. Realistically, like I said, it's going to be 3, which this could last you like 300 plus days with an order like that if your inventory actually does go stagnant and you're not able to re-rank the same way. Now, every once in a while, you will get lucky and you will be able to do this. And I will show you some things that you can do to make sure that when you do come back in stock, you will re-rank. But as a rule of thumb, this is the scenarios that end up, playing out. And this is why I think you should order more inventory than you think for your first order. Now, I just realized that my face was blocking out this whole part of the video, but it's done now. You understand the gist. And if you learned anything so far, if this, makes sense to you, leave a like on the video. It really helps the channel grow, and I really appreciate it. Now, I also want to talk about another massive, massive misconception in the inventory, space. A lot of people say to make sure that when you go out of stock and you realize, hey, shoot, I'm going out of stock for sure, there's nothing I can do about it. They say go out with a bang, sell out your product, do not change anything. Just if you're making 10 sales per day, continue to make 10 sales per day until you go out of stock. And even, a while ago, I've heard where people say, actually go out and sell even more, try to sell even more units so you can drop your BSR. So when you come back in stock, Amazon will see your sales history and then see you sold a lot more before you went out of stock and then re-rank you quickly. Now, while this may work for you if you have lots and lots of sales history, if it's your first time out of stock, that is one of the worst things you can do. 1, you're gonna go out of stock quicker, which, as we said, will mess up your rolling averages. And 2, you will, not even make as much profit as you possibly can. Because I'm gonna show you what I do, which is extend my inventory period and also increase massively my profitability. All right, now let's go to another scenario. Okay, let's say you have 500 units, you've already sold out of 300 units, you're making 10 units per day, and you now have 20 days in stock, okay? But your inventory comes in 40 days, okay? So you messed up, the inventory forecast is screwed, and you're 100% gonna go out of stock for about 20 days. What do you do? First thing you wanna do is to do with your PPC. If you have any PPC spending, you want to slowly and gradually ramp that down. So if you're going from here, slowly, every day, every other day, start to ramp down your PPC spend, not the bids, the spend. The reason for this is because if you're launching it first and your PPC probably won't be very profitable, it won't be very optimized. So realistically, every sale you make on PPC, you're actually losing money on. And right now, you don't have enough stock to sell products at a loss. So you want to start lowering down. Don't turn it off completely because that's always that's a whole thing in itself, but lower down your spend. You're already guaranteed to go out of stock. You do not need to spend money and lose money on PPC to go out of stock any quicker. We're trying to extend as much as we can our in-stock inventory because it's much better to have some numbers in the rolling averages than straight zeros. We're trying to actually lower that. I know it sounds counterintuitive. We're trying to lower that to 5 sales per day because that's actually going to allow us to make it to the 40-day period, and then we can re-ramp everything up, which I'll talk about soon. But we're trying to get our sales from 10 per day to 5 per day and be as profitable as we can in the process. If just by turning your PPC down, you go down to 5 sales per day, that's awesome. That's all you need to do. Keep doing what you're doing. If though it's still selling too fast and you will not make the 40-day period, what you want to now do is start to slowly increase your price. What you're going to want to do is increase your product price by $1 to $2 at a time, until you start to see an effect on your listing. I'd say $1 is probably safe, at a time until you see your sales start to drop. That is, that's what you're looking for. This actually has a bunch of benefits to it as well, right? One, of course, you're gonna, stay in stock. Two, you'll get more profitable because your profit margins will increase as the amount of sales go down, but the profit margins go up. Three, you'll be able to see how your price actually affects your product, because sometimes a lot of people have never tested their price, in the premium ranges. They're too scared to go up. So if you start going up and you start saying, hey, I've increased it by $3, $4 and my sales, per day have not changed, then when you come back in stock, you can start to test more premium pricing and see, maybe you can get away with a much higher price than what you're currently charging without really affecting your sale. And four is that when you do this, you're gonna start to increase the price, the average price that you sell your product at. So when you do get back in stock and you lower your price down, you're gonna get this strike-through pricing. So I don't know if you've ever seen the strike-through pricing. It's everywhere on Amazon, but the real strike-through price, it happens before you could do it like in a sketchy ways, but now the only way to really do it is to make sure that you've sold the product at that price point before. So for example, if you're at $20 and you slowly increase your price to $30 and you're still making sales, when your product comes back in and you drop it back down to $20, Amazon will actually strike through the $30 price point and it will show that you dropped it to $20, like a $10 savings. And that actually does, in turn, when you get back in stock, increase your conversion rates as well. So there's 4 advantages to doing this that literally, again, goes against what people are saying, but it's just so, there's so many reasons to do this. It's just such a win-win-win-win-win that if you're not doing this, I think you're making a big mistake. And the reason it's so important to do this is because I'm gonna kind of show you a graph here. When you start off on Amazon, you actually start here. So this is actually, let's say, one sale per day. And it's a linear line. Let's say this is the rank. So your rank, where you rank on Amazon, and this is the amount of sales. So the more sales you make, the higher you rank. So let's say this is 1, and the 1 is actually here. It's not up here, it's down in the middle, okay? And this line extends this way as well. So for example, 5 sales here, you rank higher, 10 sales, you rank higher, 15 sales per day, you rank higher. But the way that this works on Amazon, from my experience, is that 1 is just like a neutral, it's just like a number. It's fine, they will rank you as 1. But once you're at 0 is all the way back here. So it's like a negative effect to your rank. 0 doesn't start at nothing, 1 is nothing. So that's why you want to do everything you can to avoid a 0 in your rolling averages. 0 is like the death of a product. And hopefully that explains why we want to make sure that we can keep you in stock as much as possible. Now, if you follow the strategies I just told you here, you're going to be in a much better position when you get back in stock. But there's still some things you need to do to make sure that you re-rank properly. You need to move very fast. As soon as your inventory becomes available for sale, you need to ramp up your PPC, throw your budget back up to where it was, if not higher. You also will need to bring your price down drastically, maybe even below what you were selling before, just to start to re-rank quickly. Then you can slowly raise it again from there. Like I said, you also get that strike-through pricing, which gives you a boost on your conversions. And along with all of that, what you can do to make sure you rank successfully back to where you were is to add those coupons. So those are the ones you can click on the listing. $1, $2, doesn't really matter. The point is that green little banner will actually increase conversions as well. And the funny thing is, 50% of the people don't even use it, so it increases conversions, and people still buy it for the same price without even getting the discount. We're basically using a defibrillator on your listing right when it first starts because if it's out of stock, it's on life support. So that's what we do as soon as it gets back in stock. Now, if you've gotten this far in the video, you're obviously serious about Amazon, and if you're still struggling, you've got to do something about it. You can try to keep doing what you're doing, taking this on yourself, trying to piece together all of these random YouTube videos from all these different random people who have all different strategies and tactics, and do it yourself. Or you can stop wasting time and finally fast track your progress and work with somebody in a mentorship style who knows what they're doing. We're obviously going to be in some pretty trying times, soon with the whole recession and all that stuff, literally printing, trillions of dollars. It's going to be bad, right? And so I think, like Patrick Bet-David said, we have about 12 to, at most 24 months to really see how bad this is going to get. And if you're going to keep spinning your wheels, getting nowhere, it's going to be very tough for you. It's the time now to start building a cash flowing business to be able to protect your jobs. So if you want to keep your job, that's great. But the point is, when a recession comes, how many people get laid off? Tons and tons of people. And if you don't have a backup plan, if you do not have a side business, if you do not have another income stream, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So it's time to do something. Click the first link in the description. Check out the mentorship program with myself. You'll be able to work with me directly. It's not a set and forget program where you just watch the course and then never hear from anyone ever again. It's a mentorship, right? So you watch the program, you build the foundations, and then you're able to work above and beyond with myself to pick the right products, the ones that are actually going to sell and have demand, to launch the products, the PPC, and literally everything in between, A to Z, everything. It's not just another Amazon program. There is literally nothing out there where you can work with the creator of the program one-on-one to make sure you see success. So, like I said, hit that first link in the description. Do something in the next 12 months while you have time. You're seeing the inflation. Things are, getting worse, not better. So hopefully I'll be able to work with you and see you there. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.